The Harmony Foundation held its 56th annual Martin Luther King Jr. Community Celebration at Newton North High School, with this year's theme as Everyone Can Serve. The event was emceed by Reverend Devlin Scott. The keynote speaker was Dr. LaBrent Chrite, president of Bentley College, and other speakers included Mayor Ruthanne Fuller and Superintendent Dr. Nolin, along with performances by Katani Sumner, the All City Troubadours, Sharon Tackie, and others. Here are some highlights from the event.
In 1994, through federal legislation co-authored by former Pennsylvania U.S. Senator Harris Woolford and U.S. Representative John Lewis of Georgia, both veterans of the Civil Rights Movement, and also worked with Dr. King, this day of celebration became the National Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service, a day of community service that helps solve social problems. And what better way to honor the legend than to pick up where he left off? Woolford and others led some 3,000 volunteers in 150 service projects, along with corporate sponsors, community leaders, students, volunteers, and people from throughout the region, all to honor Dr. King's legacy and uplift the community as he would have on a day on of service and not a day off. And I am grateful to be able to say that this year in Newton, today is the day on of service and not a day off. Our theme this year is Everybody Can Serve, and we added to our celebration in partnership with this Service Stars and the Wayland School, the opportunity to spread winter warmth. Thanks to you, we have an overwhelming amount of people signed up to help prepare soups in a jar for hospitality homes and our local veterans, tea gifts for senior leaders or senior citizens, a blanket drive for a welcome home, and even a knitting circle.
Well done on picking our theme for the year, Everybody Can Serve. It certainly embodies Dr. King's values and builds on his quote, this is him speaking, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? I want to link those words to a speech that Barack Obama gave. Think of this, April 21, 2009. He had only recently been sworn in, and one of his first decisions as president was to sign a sweeping new act, actually named after one of our esteemed senators. It was the Edward M. Kennedy Serve America Act. I'm going to quote directly from President Obama's speech for a bit. Here's what he said. You don't need to be a community organizer or a senator, I love this line, or a Kennedy, or even a president to bring change to people's lives. When Ted Kennedy makes this point, he also tells a story as elegantly simple as it is profound. Again, this is still President Obama. An old man walking along a beach at dawn saw a young man pick up a starfish and throw it back out to sea. Why are you doing that? The old man inquired. The young man explained that the starfish had been stranded on the beach by a receding tide and would soon die in the daytime sun. But, the beach goes on for miles, the old man said, and there are so many starfish. How can your effort make any difference? The young man looked at the starfish in his hand and without hesitating, threw it safely back into the sea. And he looked up at the old man, smiled, and said, it will make a difference to that one. The president went on, quoting Obama, we need your service right now at this moment in history. I'm not going to tell you what your role should be. That's for you to discover. But I am asking you to stand up and play your part. I am asking you to change history's course. Put your shoulder up against the wheel. And if you do, I promise you, your life will be richer. Our country will be stronger. And someday, years from now, you may remember it as the moment when your own story and the American story converged, when they came together and we met the challenges of our new century.
Good morning, everyone. Before we sing our next piece, I'd like to acknowledge that the Newton Public Schools is currently in a contract negotiation. And I'd like to tell you a little story about why it's so important that we fund our public schools on Martin Luther King Day, a day in which we should be acknowledging the fact that public education is on the very forefront of what Martin Luther King was fighting for throughout his lifetime. I teach at Williams Elementary School in Auburndale. Is there any people from Auburndale in the audience today? Hello, welcome. I do sincerely hope that your children also had the opportunity to go to Newton Public Schools. One of the things that will really, really help our children grow right now is more adults in the room to meet their needs. Many children who grew up going to preschool on Zoom severely lack the social skills necessary to function and learn in a kindergarten classroom. At our school, Williams Elementary, enrollment has gone down. Our kindergarten class, one of them is only 13 students. And though there are only 13 students, they feel a lot more like 30 sometimes. I'm a music teacher, but in my planning time, I typically go up to Tom Joyce's kindergarten class. And when I do, what I see is Tom holding a student by the waist as he teaches them their letters, B, B, boy, while another student is standing on a table. And I'm holding another student on the rug who, if I let him go, is going to go tackle another student in the classroom. There's only one kindergarten aide for our 2 kindergarten classrooms, and she obviously can't be in both places. So myself, as a music educator and not as a kindergarten teacher, that's what I do on Wednesdays when I have free time. So I do sincerely hope that you all will advocate, along with myself, for having a kindergarten aide, more than one person in our classroom to take care of our children, amongst other things.
I note, as has already been affirmed, that the theme of this year's MLK celebration is Everybody Can Serve, having a servant's heart. And that it is anchored in Dr. King's February 4th, 1968, Drum Major Instinct speech. The speech endures for many reasons, not the least of which is its poignancy and its prescience. Oh, thank you. Having the opportunity to deliver that speech just 2 months before his assassination contributed to its staying power. Service and leadership are principles that have been integral to my professional development and to my career and life trajectory. So I've appreciated this opportunity to reflect on these ideas at this time, and I am reminded of our collective obligation toward this end. Like everyone else joining us today, I remain deeply inspired by Dr. King. But I'm not just inspired by his elegance or by the fact that he challenged conventional order or that he spoke truth to power, or by his relentless tenacity, or even that he willingly gave his life for a cause in which he believed, though any of these attributes would be worthy of history's enduring admiration. What is most inspiring to me about Dr. King is that he was imperfect, flawed, that he struggled with his own frailties and insecurities, And this should give us all hope. Dr. King's principles and sacrifices have been monumentally influential on my life. I must admit, however, that my ability to reconcile his extraordinary legacy with many of the contemporary conditions of this great nation is far more circumspect. And I struggle to understand how the country has, as I see it, retreated so considerably from Dr. King's vision, and how so many of our current normative behaviors seem entirely antithetical to his examples of moral courage. I believe we, as a country, have sadly forgotten the painful lessons of the civil rights period, a time which so galvanized the nation and the world. 60 years after the first freedom rides, right-wing, often violent, nihilistic extremists are not only reemerging in the American body politic, but in many circles across the country are defining a new political center of gravity. After years of historic tumult, cancel culture, racial violence, mass shootings, wokeness, the war against wokeness, a global pandemic, rising food and income insecurity, emergent nationalism, and wars and violence around the world, it seems necessary that we commit to critically reflecting on our collective stewardship of Dr. King's legacy, to take account and to be accountable for our nation's inability to fulfill its highest promise.
In the spirit of Martin Luther King Jr., who reminded us that anyone can be a drum major for justice, I invite you, well, really, I challenge you, each of you, to embrace the power of service. And service is not bound by our politics or geography. It is a universal language of action and care that can bridge gaps and heal any wounds we are suffering. It's challenging times in which we live, and the most important service that we can offer to our community is to listen and lead with empathy, to try to heal the divisions caused by trauma, inequities, racism, politics, conflict. Our world and our city is grappling with some very complex issues: political, financial, and legal tensions locally and nationally, to wars abroad, and to the internal, emotional, physical struggles within ourselves and among individuals. These challenges have created divisions within our community, but I implore you, we can rise above that discord and focus on what unites us, our shared commitment to the well-being and success of the Newton community as a whole, which from my perspective and in my role means that we must serve our young people well and first so that they can take on the mantle of leadership in the future. That's my plan. I will serve this community by building the programs, the staffing, the training, and the total experience of the Newton Public Schools so that we can build our future leaders.